Hello, Camille. Welcome back to the
Hello.
podcast.
It's so good to be back.
All right. First of all, just remind us who you are, for those who haven't met you.
Yeah. So, my name's Camille, and I run a small little business called Essence Within. I offer virtual and in person services and also partner with social clubs and companies to lead group events where I offer breath work, energy healing, and a little bit of mentorship. And been on the awakening path, wellness path for strongly since about 2020. And yeah, just really happy to be connecting with you and to recap and debrief more.
Yeah. So today's conversation is going to be centered around something that's kind of dear and close to us. So we first connected about a year ago. Can you believe it? A year ago, we follow each other on Instagram, and you did a session with me, which I was like so happy about. Um, and I saw on your Instagram you shared something about like twin flames, and I was like, holy shit, there are other people who go through this too. Cause I was like just realizing like, oh, I have a twin flame and what is this? And like so many questions. So we kind of like connected a lot more since like just realizing, oh, like she has a twin flame too. And so much has shifted for each of us since then. Um, when I think about the last conversation we'd had about the twin flame journey back in the fall, I was like, wow, so many so many sentences begin with my twin pisses me off.
Lots of triggers.
Yeah, so this conversation is not just about twin flames. This can be beneficial for anyone who is on a self-development journey. But for us, it was such a initiation.
Yes. Yeah, I love that word initiation because I feel once you are activated on this journey, there is just a countless amount of things you face at once. And so you definitely realize you're an advanced soul who came here to experience this. Because I think at first you're like, why is this happening to me? But then over time, you're like, okay, this is actually exciting. This is happening for me. And my soul came here and knows that I'm capable to go through this. So, yes, I feel it's a bunch of battles of a lot of life, things in your life, endings, death and rebirth, coming back to self. So just like looking deep into the mirror at yourself and confronting where you've kind of abandoned yourself and what hasn't been working. And so it's definitely like this huge, beautiful initiation and divine intervention, right?
Yeah. So one thing you hear a lot of people talk about in the twin flame, I don't even want to say community, but when it comes to this topic,
Collective.
yes, people talk about inner union and like union. And I kept hearing the word inner union and I was like, what the heck does that mean? And I would say that how would you define inner union? And why is that important on the twin flame path? Whether you're in union with your twin or not, or plan to be or not.
Yeah. Inner union to me is basically not being afraid to look at all parts of yourself and loving and nurturing every part of yourself and looking at it face on. And it's almost like, you know, those like Apple goggle things that people wear? They're like those 3D and it's like the 3D realities. You can like see a bunch of stuff when you put them on your eyes.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're called, but I basically like envision you put those on and you just see like all these versions of you, right? That you have kind of experienced throughout your life. And a lot of people aren't willing to go deep and look at all parts of themselves. And that's when managers come in, right? Like alcohol, like all these ways to just numb out, antidepressants. There's just so many things you can do to avoid not going deep and looking at all these versions of what you've been. And so inner union to me is just really like pulling all versions of you in and like really opening your heart chakra and just kind of speaking like I honor and love all parts of me, and almost like you're nurturing just all these versions and ages of you, right? And bringing it all together. And that to me is like this beautiful feeling of inner union and like unconditional love. What about you?
Huh, okay. Wow, I was not expecting that. But inner union, let's see. Okay, so just like a brief overview, a twin flame is one when one soul like incarnates in like two bodies, which is like a weird experience. And at some point on your journey, spiritual or not, it's almost like your soul is like, okay, we're ready. And then you meet your twin flame, who is like another person who shares your same soul or soul frequency. And by no means are you like completing each other. It's like, yes, you share the same soul and soul frequency, but you're still like your own person, if you will. It's just a different experience and it's not like better than or worse than by any means. But it is very triggering, and we say is a spiritual initiation because it really is. It put me in like a dark night of the soul, and like a lot of like confusion. There's like really nothing I could do but like work through the shit. There's this Carl Jung quote about how people will avoid to look at their soul. That's why it's like so difficult when you're like on a twin flame journey. Um, so we kind of talked about this in the last episode, but a lot of people talk about twin flames, but what they really mean is like a soulmate or like someone you have like a deep connection with romantically. But when it comes to like real twin flames, it's all about helping your soul expand and develop unconditional love for yourself and for others. So it's really like about spiritual growth. It's just like what like blasted you open is here to like open your heart. When you're a twin flame, you probably at some point in your journey you go through like some sort of separation, whether like one twin lives in a different country or state, or there's just like some weird reason you just like are not in communication. um so I really believe like if my twin and I were like hanging out all the time or like we talk a lot, there really isn't that space for me to do like the inner work. um I felt so crazy that I was like, I need to address this. Um, you know what I mean? It's like inner child work, abandonment wounds, attachment issues. It's like I looked at all of those things. Um, so even without realizing that was like me building my inner union, I was like just like doing that very naturally because you like very naturally want to figure out what is going on and you want to feel less crazy. And at some point you're just like, okay, you hear so much about it's our natural tendency to want to Google and look into like what is this journey supposed to be about. And you learn that some people do come into union with their twin, and what that means is like, okay, they really do get together, they build a life together as romantic partners, as life partners, but not everyone is meant to do that. And again, it's not like a better than or worse than. You develop like a stronger connection with your soul. I know for myself before my twin flame realization, it's like I knew I had a soul, I never knew what that meant. So it's like, oh, my spirituality blasted open further. I didn't even know that was like possible. Just because I had been doing like energy healing spiritual work a lot before I met my twin. Um, but it's like, wow, now I'm like seeing the world from a different perspective and I'm connected to my soul. And it's like you do have love for your twin, but you kind of realize, okay, like what I was thinking it had to be about, which was romantic love, is just that's just not it. There's so much beyond romantic love. Um, but inner union, like what you said, like finding wholeness within oneself. And you kind of have to do that on the twin flame journey. Otherwise, you would literally go insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, okay, I can love my twin. I don't really know what he's doing or what's like going on with him, but I need to like surrender. And like, there's so much out of my control and just like give it to the universe or like my spirit guides because like me trying to control this literally doesn't work. Um, so it's really about like for me calling my energy back and like trusting the journey, knowing that it is supposed to be a gift, even though it didn't really feel like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and when you touched on something around how like if you were with your twin like hanging out all the time, which I think we picture that to an extent, but like literally after any time my twin and I saw each other, we both would repel even stronger. So like that didn't even feel like an option because again, it's so intense that like after every physical interaction, it's almost like just this new burst of energy that like you both just have to like go to separate very very far corners to go deeper, you know. And I noticed every time after we had physical encounters I would want to be alone after because this journey really forces you to just like tap in to that deeper work and the self discovery and the self mastery and yeah learning more about the soul because I will say when I be around other people you're just on this different realm now and frequency that a lot of friendships and people will dissipate from your life because you realize how delicate and intense this journey is. And I will say it takes a lot of clearing, like, so you don't have distractions to really focus in. Like, I left Puerto Rico, I moved downtown, got my own apartment. Like, I just wanted to really, like, hermit because I think we're just so, yeah, triggered, confused, but also intrigued, inspired, right? It's like all of these feelings put into one, and so it really sets you on this fast track path. Um, and another thing you mentioned about the romance, I would say, is you definitely do go through all those phases. I think for a chunk of this journey, you do think, holy crap, like, this is my person. This is the love of my life. I do want to, like, honor and say, like, you will go through that chunk of time thinking, like, I need to be with this person, right? And I don't like I think everyone needs to move through because it's just like there are so many ups and flows and waves through this journey. So, yeah, for any listeners, like if you are like in that section now of like I don't want anyone else, this is who I want to be with forever, like definitely honor that part of the journey you're on. I think Sandy and I like we have moved through so much of it and we're just now kind of in this more grounded, like part of the journey where you are realizing this is a bigger picture, right? This is a huge opportunity and journey of self discovery, self mastery, and getting to learn who your soul is on a deeper level, which we're all doing. We all are learning to come back to who we truly are. And I think as a twin, we are really, our part of our mission is to be that frequency to help others like tap into that soul blueprint within, so they can be like, oh wow, like I'm feeling shifts in my life, like this is helping me. And so I think we're like this collective group of way showers who not are only moving through it still on our own, but we kind of come into this beautiful pack of beings who are these trickles of light who help inspire others come back to their heart, right? And that's, I will say, like one of the biggest takeaways is like it's a huge heart opener, right? And you're like, oh,
Blast it open.
you're like,
Not
I
by
can feel
choice.
out of my heart now instead of my ego mind. What?
Oh, okay. Yes. The ego versus soul slash heart part. That is huge. And I like what you said about like if you right now are going through the twin flame journey and you feel like I literally cannot be with anybody else, like yes, be with yourself. Like honor this part of the journey. I think everyone knows like you cannot, force your own will against another person. Like that is like manifestation like 101. You can't manifest a specific person. Or like a specific, you can manifest a specific result, but you can't be like, I want this person to be part of this in this role, you know? So I think we all know that like that does not feel high frequency at all. Um, but yeah, like there is a part of your twin flame journey or like moments where you feel like, oh, that's like the person for me. And I am trying to meet other people and I keep like looking for that person. So that
Right.
is a very real thing. Just like acknowledge it and like know that this is, I don't know if this journey ever ends, to be honest, you know? But I'm at a place and do realize I met my twin like 2.5 years ago. So it's been a hot minute. Um, but yeah, right now I'm in this place where I am like, okay, my twin moved so fucking far away. And there are other people that are like high level soulmates that I can be happy with. And, to be honest, when I think about how triggering and activating the twin flame journey has been, I'm not like necessarily thinking that would be like a healthy relationship, you know. For some people I'm sure that could be. I don't really know them, honestly. But I feel like it just takes a bit. It just takes time and you have to honor where you are and give yourself radical compassion because it is a crazy journey and you don't need to, call yourself crazy and make it harder for yourself. And the soul versus ego part, I was like, well, compared to now, I definitely was more connected to my ego. So, like when you think about is this voice or thought coming from my soul or from my ego, you can like pretty much tell because your ego is like outcome focused, is determined, and your soul is like seeing things from a bigger, kinder perspective. Your soul is kind. So I definitely was like, okay, tapping more into that. And whether you are trying to achieve inner union or union in the 3D with your twin, that both require shedding layers of the ego.
Yes. Yes. And something that just came up for me is when you said your twin moved states, because obviously mine, we've always been in different parts of the country, state. I, that's also from the mind and ego, right? Oh, they're so far, or we're so separated. But again, like the soul is always one, and so knowing energetically like you are one is comforting, right? Because the unconditional love or yearning you feel throughout the journey, you can always tap into your essence and your energy field and know that you are already whole, you are already one. And so I will say through like meditations, dreams, like there's always an energetic union and connection. And so I don't have dreams as much, but anytime it does happen, I'm like, oh, okay, what do I need to learn more about myself? Like at this point, I just know it's always to go deeper or to face something that maybe I've been avoiding, right? And so I think that's the beauty, but also the challenge knowing our soul wanted to incarnate in two vessels in the same lifetime is that we are on a very advanced and potent and challenging but magical path and journey, and knowing when you're too in mind and ego and fear and worry and like anxiousness, and then like coming back to soul, coming back to center and being like, I am one with myself, with my twin, and just really coming back to the heart. And what else was I going to say? There was one more thing, but it left my brain. But yeah, I think the physical distance too makes it a little easier because I mean, I know you guys were in the same city, so obviously like you feel each other, right? So I think our soul definitely was like, hey, I just want to have two different life experiences, right? And it doesn't always necessarily mean like twins are supposed to be together, right? And again, free will, soul path, every twin journey is so unique. And that's why I'm like, how can we just like compile all the twins who are very in that state of like, there are so many possibilities, and every possibility is okay, and it's gonna be amazing, and it's gonna be beautiful. And I think that's what you and I, Sandy, are trying to bring to awareness and to the surface through these um, podcasts is every decision or possibility is perfect for you and not clinging to an outcome. And I think that's something we're trying to break as a whole, even if you're not a twin, is like, how do we stop clinging to outcomes? Right? Which is hard.
It is hard. Um, that's why I say like be so compassionate to yourself on the journey because it is like a lot. And I as you were talking, I'm like thinking how I wasn't going to see my twin. Um I basically put out the last episode is like we recorded and then I sat on it for a bit. I was like, "Oh my god, I'm going to talk about this and put it on the internet." And I put it on the internet and then I shortly like saw my twin like, in person.
Oh
And
yeah.
I literally wasn't going to. I was like thinking about, "Oh, do I really want to like meet?" Um because I knew like it's like we had gone through separation. I was finally at a place that felt stable and like good with myself. I'm like, do I really want to see this MF of a human being? No, I'm just kidding. And I remember driving to like somewhere like an hour away. And on that, I had not made a decision at that point. I kept seeing like twin flame synchronicity is like crazy. I even drove by this, I think it's a candle shop. It literally said twin flame on the door. And I was like, okay, maybe I need to see my twin because it was like just like so in my face. And
Wow.
I did see my twin in the 3D, and it was, like, so overwhelming and so activating that I had to go into straight hermit for 2 days, and you just feel really fragile and confused. Yeah. So I do feel like as twins, it's like the universe is like handling your path. If you have to see each other, you'll see each other. If you don't have to see each other, then you won't.
I just want to cry now because I'm like literally remembering like when you were texting me through that, and then like it happened to me like a few weeks ago, and I was like in my closet like laying on the floor, and it's just like you just keep getting freaking like it's just always going to be part of the path, and you just have to always have compassion and like be open to the experiences you are going to have. But I will say like Sandy and I feel like anytime you or I are going through another one of those moments where it's like you're literally dropped down on the floor like what the hell and you can't stop crying, like those are the moments where I think when you and I connect, like you realize there are other twins out there who are going through very different journeys, but also like very similar. It's like this weird combo of like they're so different, but like you still feel a lot of the same emotion because it just overtakes you in ways that you can't comprehend. And so that's why I think Sandy and I are like, I'm so glad we're doing this because in moments like that, it is so helpful to have one another when you just literally like don't know who to talk to and you can't even get up and you're just like take me now, like what am I supposed to do from here? And it's just so yeah, it's definitely that's crazy you saw those synchronicities happen. So because I don't think you ever shared that with me personally, but after you saw him that day and like kind of process after those couple days, do you feel you got like peaceful clarity on why it was helpful or like why you maybe needed that to happen in order to go deeper?
That's a good question. I have that same question for you, but I'll go first. Yeah, okay. So it was literally like, you know how like maybe you see 222 or like whatever angel number that comes in three. You're like, okay, I see this often enough that this quote unquote doesn't count. It's like the really specific kind of twin flame synchronicities that you probably don't see in the day to day. So I was like, okay, maybe there's something there, and I was like, okay, I'll say yes to the universe. um and I wasn't like expecting like a whole like reaction or like emotional outburst or dark night of the soul. I was not expecting that. I thought I was going to show up. I'm going to be so chill and nonchalant. I'm going to be so cool. Yeah. So I feel like, so this was like in fall, like November. I think like I feel like last fall, leading up to that, I was like kind of, not that I intentionally was in a rut, but I was definitely like very in like go mode, like masculine, like I don't want to like entertain like my emotions type of mode, if you will. I didn't know I was doing that. I was just doing that. And meeting. We went to the coffee shop. He was perfectly nice, Nothing bad happened. I'm talking about like, oh, I cried for 2 days. People will be like, "Oh, what did he do?" He didn't do anything. But he did like ask questions. I remember he asked me like, "What are you looking forward to over the next 10 years?" And I was in like a weird place in life that I was like, I cannot even think about the next 6 months, you know?
Yeah, 10 years? What?
Why are you asking me that? It's like giving me a life crisis.
Yeah, it's like I I don't even know what's gonna happen tomorrow.
And that just like brought to my attention. I wasn't at a place where I was like looking forward to very much. So that was like, oh my god, I'm not excited about life. And I'm not saying that's the case now, but I was definitely in a weird place in life. So that kind of just like made it super like clear and in my
Wow.
face. So yeah, that's why I was like, this is why people don't see their twin flames very often. Um, yeah, so it was that. And yeah, just brought up a lot. Again, none of it was like his fault or, again, he was like perfectly nice. It's just like, it's kind of like seeing your soul face to face.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I don't know if you ever felt that, but I was definitely thinking like, oh, I'm not showing up to life the way I would like. Um, and it was like highlighting what I not where I wasn't good enough, but definitely where I was like selling myself short, if you will.
Yes, exactly. It's like you don't even have to say anything to each other, but just literally vibrating in the physical same space together, it activates so much, right? And that's a really good point. It kind of like helps you face where you might be afraid to take the leaps. So, those leaps of faith, and maybe to what happened to you, like asking yourself those deeper questions of like, wow, where do I like want to eventually evolve into in 10 years? And I don't think it needs to be like, I want to be at this career, not like XYZ, but more like, what do I want to be anchoring and embodying for myself in the next 10 years? So that's really cool that he asked that because it did open this type of like gateway portal for you to be like, oh, holy shit, like I should probably like go deeper on that and explore that, right?
Yeah, I remember I was like, "Oh my god, I'm not this sounds cheesy." But I was like, I was not prioritizing my joy. And you know how sometimes you're like just busy and you're going through the day to day that you kind of just like, yeah, you forget that, oh, your life is meant to be joyful and like life is a gift. I was kind of in a weird mode of like every day just felt like a lot to deal with.
I like that.
Yeah. So after that meeting, it was just a lot to digest and just like wondering like what was going to happen in the future. So, yeah, the crying was like overwhelming. I remember I like had put my makeup on that day and I cried it all off. And then the next day, I'm like, I've cried enough. I put on makeup in the morning and then I cried it all off the next hour.
Oh, it's a lot of crying. You're like, I didn't even know this much could come out of my body in my eyes.
Yeah. Okay, so what about you?
Yeah, I think different but very similar to what you are explaining. I think the communication alone just really activates this intense feeling of overwhelm and love, grief. Because, like, I think a lot of this journey, you have to grieve old layers and parts of yourself that you're probably literally delayering by just being on this journey. Literally. Like, there's been so many moments where I feel like I'm literally tapped into the frequency of like love and joy, but also like grieving. And it's like this beautiful, uncomfortable combination. And so I think that's why the emotions just take over so rapidly. But yeah, after my last communication, when I was laying in the closet, just barely hanging on, my soul was just like, go draw. Like, just go start drawing. Like, I just knew I needed to do something because I feel a lot of too the twin energy is learning how to shift it into your creativity and your gifts. And so I just started drawing a ton, and I think that was really helpful to not only help me process what I had just moved through, but it just gets you kind of on this like trajectory of, okay, what did I learn from this and how can I continue to be compassionate, and then also just like kind of like nurture my inner, I hate the term inner child, but nurture that inner child and be like, what did I used to love to do, or what brought me joy when I was little, or that I want to continue doing now. And so that kind of pushed me really hard into this like creativity and turning on my gifts mode. And it also brought up like a lot of healing around my relationship with just, I want to say like men in general, or like my dad, and just like I think you touched on this too in the first episode, but you realize there's like a lot of correlation with, okay, we're the feminine, right? But we also hold masculine, but they're physically the masculine in their vessel. So I think a lot of what they represent, it helps you heal relationships you have with either feminines or masculine connections. And so yeah, I think every time too you and I had spoken, you're always like, with time you'll get clarity, and I really do feel that every time you're in it, it's really intense and you can't explain what you're moving through, but bits and pieces make sense over time. And I think that's where the beauty kind of glistens, is you realize that we're always okay. We're always rising forward and ahead and learning more about ourselves. And even though it's like really painful and weird and awkward in the moment, I think like I almost feel like I have like a superhero cape on after, and I'm like, okay, I can come back now. And it's like this refresh, it's this rebirth. And again, coming back to what I said previously, is like we're all moving through excessive amounts of death and rebirth, and sinking more into our heart and who we truly are. So whether you're on a twin path or not, I think everyone collectively is going through these types of movements in some shape or form, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for some people it's like a pretty extreme health issue, you know. For us it's like the twin flame thing. For some people it's like a really bad breakup, or it can be anything. But yes, I as we're talking about this, so this all happened, end of last year, and I'm like, wow, like it really makes sense after a period of time. But like when you're in the moment, it's like, my soul, what do you choose us? What do you choose for us? Why can't I just like be on my own without this? Why do I have to share a soul with this person? I definitely had a period of time where I was like resentful. Is like, what am I supposed to make of this? Which brings us to inner union. I think it's hard to, like certain part of the journey, maybe even certain days, you're like, no, I just want like this person to be in my life. And you're telling me to work on inner union and like be whole within myself. Like that doesn't sound fun by any means. People be like, oh, build your own life and like focus on yourself, which are great ideas, but in practice is not the easiest. Um, and
Yeah.
what really made me be like, okay, all I can focus on is inner union, is like the whole, like, okay, that is within my control. And, you know, trying to control things outside of my control is just a waste of energy and time. So I was like, okay, I need to work on inner union. This is the only thing I have control over. Also, you look at, I don't really know if they're like real twins or not. I'm curious what you think. But Megan Fox and MGK, I don't really know. Yeah, I don't
let's
know.
let's not go there.
But I was thinking like, especially after my last experience, I'm like, okay, if I don't have inner union, like union with my twin just sucks. Yeah, and I've had, you know, clients who are the feminine twin and they're going through this. And I'm like trust me when I say this, if you don't have inner union, your twin flame union just cannot happen. And even if it somehow happens, it's gonna be just like a world of hurt.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how to actually cultivate inner union.
Yeah. Something that came up for me earlier when you were speaking was, I think, when you were talking about the joy. I think as we accelerate and more light comes into our field, and when we embody these changes that we're experiencing through the journey, I find that my inner union with self, it's a lot of times me just slowing down, because I think when you turn off the ego and the external world and feel like that's how we're supposed to be living, when you listen to your soul and slow down and make tea for yourself, or maybe just like start free journaling or choose to go on a walk instead of take that call, like those little moments to me are like getting closer and closer to you and what is nourishing and good for you. And a lot of times when I'm meditating, I'll just like do a lot of like heart chakra work, and I repeat this thing that always just comes up, which is like, I love you, I hear you, I see you, I honor you. Because I think a lot of times we have neglected our ourselves and our feelings, because, you know, in the external we're told a lot of times growing up that emotions are weak or we're too sensitive. And I think I've really embodied my sensitivity, and it's really my superpower. And I think those little things really bring you closer and closer to you and to your heart. And yeah, that's just what I'll say is, I think it's not like bam, it's not like an overnight thing. It's like these little moments, bits and pieces that really kind of create this sacred inner union. So, yeah, what about for you?
Yeah, I remember making a list. So, well, first of all, one thing that really bugged me, that caused me a lot of stress, seeing my twin last time, was that I wasn't living the way I would like. Not that I want my life to be perfect, but I didn't feel like I was like on a trajectory I was like happy with, you know. Like I said, I wasn't like prioritizing my joy, and I wasn't like proud to be me, if you will. So when I thought about, okay, how can I cultivate inner union, to me that meant like being a version of myself that I'm like proud of. So I made a list of what would that take. So it's actually big things and small things and medium things. So
Yeah.
it's like, okay, I am going to say yes to doing more fun things, like going to a concert and going to like festivals and going out of town, and just like say yes to more fun activities, um like joyful activities. And that also meant like career wise, I want to be more purposeful and dedicated and committed, because one thing my twin always like really inspired me with was like his dedication to doing work that is like purposeful to him. And so that was like one big thing. And also like socially, like building my network and like being involved in community in a way that I want to be. So you can just say it's just like building my life up. Yeah. To me, that was inner union. So it can be like, oh, I'm like going out to dinner with friends and I'm like taking care of myself through like good nutrition and like strength training, and like going to yoga, I'm going to therapy, I'm also like going on trips. So it really is just like building your life up to me.
Yes, and something that just came through after you said that is like the intention and the action. It's almost like the feminine and then the masculine, right? Because, like, I feel with the feminine energy, it's the intentions, it's the intuitiveness, and then the masculine is like the action. So that the way you just explained all that, like, I really like saw the polarity come together of like that's what this whole journey is like having the intention and then also acting and bringing that together. And so that's like the perfect explanation of coming into that inner union, because I think a lot of times people are like, "Oh, I should do this." And it's like people kind of do things without that like feminine intention and just do it because they think in their mind that's the right thing to do, whether that's from like external expectations or previous conditioning. But I just love the way how you explained of like you're doing this because it's bringing you joy, and the twin has kind of brought those bits and pieces of like, oh, like that kind of has inspired you to take those actions. And I will say, like, for me too, I think through this whole journey, that masculine I've been bringing back into my, you know, vessel has helped me take a lot more action, which I think I didn't have in the like before meeting the twin. I think I had a lot of the feminine because again, naturally we have more of that feminine, intuitive, emotional energy. So I will say this journey's been really beautiful for me to really, especially because I'm wearing my solar plexus crystal. So like action, soul power, and bringing those two together, it's awesome. And I think we should pat ourselves on the back and be like, we're doing a pretty good job for this journey.
Yeah, yeah. Like this whole inner union thing, I've seen some like feminine twins make it kind of just like this like big hard thing. It's like I need to do X, Y, and Z, and this is not really about that. Again, it can be just like, okay, if you it can be like just taking care of yourself. You have to go from that point of view. Otherwise, it can feel like this like big and dry thing. And you're not doing it for your twin. You're doing it for yourself. Um and ironically, that helps you navigate the twin flame experience more like gracefully.
Yes. Yeah, that's a great word to end on, I think, is grace and being gentle through it all. I think just letting each day come. And the word that's also been coming through a lot for me is like observe and instead of react. Because I think the more we observe and then receive and then act, it's just such a better process. And then just having grace and compassion along the way. And yeah, I'm so excited to like see what the future holds for both of us. And I'm so happy that we've like connected in San Diego. Like, I seriously last minute decided to go to that conference, and I think it created some good connections, including your and I's. And yeah, just let's make our twin circle bigger. Let's bring more. Let's bring more in.
Yeah, yeah. No, I get it. And I feel like more, first of all, it's like a pretty rare experience. And I've learned the hard way to just like, not talk about it with people who aren't on the twin flame journey, because it is very it's cringe. I've done this and I just almost like felt worse afterwards. So I do feel like more people are going to go through the twin flame journey. And if you need support, on the way, reach out to either one of us or both of us, because we truly do get it. And like today, I feel like we are talking about it from like, oh, we're like so much further on the journey POV. But I have so much compassion for people who are on this journey, especially like the dark night of the soul parts.
Yes. And those will continue to happen. But I think with time, the comeback rate is a lot quicker because we kind of get in a groove of the ups and flows. And I think I even sent that to you over text. I was like, I feel like the comeback rate is quicker because we're kind of more anchored into what and expecting what this journey looks like. I mean, it's still definitely a surprise, but yes, definitely know that with time, like you can come back a lot quicker, a lot stronger, but also like take the time to process. But I think that's a huge reward and milestone you start seeing is like, oh, that took me like 12 hours instead of 72 hours to process and come back stronger.
Yeah, I agree with like the comeback time is shorter, and you don't dwell on things, the way you used to. And just like knowing like I don't know what you feel about this, but I somehow came across like, oh, Archangel Michael protects, like twin flame journeys. So if you believe or you're into the idea of like working with spirit guides, is like very comforting to know, like, oh, there are like spirit guides and angels like protecting this connection and facilitating this journey empath.
Yes. That's like I'm glad you brought that up because I call on him through like with the blue bubble of protection because I think this is a very sacred and sensitive journey and I think knowing you can call on him whenever you need rather than thinking like you only will get that protection like in the right time. And I think that's something when I started like calling on guides and stuff, I was kind of shy and nervous to be like, I need you or please come in. And when you grow that connection with like angels of healing and your spirit guides, you realize you feel it so quickly. So you're like, oh, okay. And it brings this sense of calm and like protection, which is very helpful.
Yeah, I always ask them, help me see this clearly.
I know, right?
Well, I love this conversation. Anything you want to leave the audience with?
Yeah, no, I think this was a really, again, authentic and beautiful flowing convo. I think every time you and I come together, it's like channeled, but also just very natural, and I think I would just leave with anchor into presence because I think at first, yeah, you just want to figure it out so much from the mind, but you will go into psychosis. So don't do that.
You will be
Just
so exhausted
you'll be so exhausted.
and left with no answer.
So
Just more
just yeah,
confusion. Yeah.
anchor into the presence, stay grounded. Like I will say with eh, Sandy's energy healing session we did, I feel before we did the session, I was still very in the astral and very airy, very fairy like. And she mentioned how like with time I would start presenting myself more from like a grounding energy, which I seriously do feel that because you realize you get downloads, you get this light codes that are coming down, but it's about the integration and the embodying and the grounding of it. And so, Sandy, I will say that has really helped me.
Oh, yay.
I'm a lot more grounded girly
Good.
now.
Oh my god. I feel like this whole like spiritual journey is all about helping you live a more purposeful, joyful life. Yeah. I feel
100.
like that is the point. Otherwise, we're just wanting to be gone.
Yes. So stay grounded, stay hydrated.
Oh,
You
yeah, the
got this.
hydration. Okay, thank you for coming on again. Camille, where can people find you?
Yes, so either my website, essencewithin.net, or my Instagram at essencewithin1111. I would say those are the two best places. And yeah, thank you so much for having me. I feel this was very divine.